Hey, is it considered necrophilia if a person fucks a zombie?
Oh yeah, man, Bucky's died more times than Jesus has in Sunday school.
Anyway, so we're recording, just so you know now.
I kind of figured you were recording like this whole time.
Nope, because we were watching the trailers.
Oh,
So thank you everybody for tuning into. Well, I guess it's not tuning, for downloading this first episode. This is the Nerd Method podcast. I am West. The other person that you hear is. Come on, that's a lead, dude. You can talk.
yep, that'd be me. My name is Chris Thomas,
Yeah.
and thank you for letting us molest your ear holes.
And we will never do this to your poor face again. If you paid attention to the last episode, we were talking about the movie Branded. I finally got a chance to see it, so we're going to move from there, and then from this point forward, we're just going to try and talk. Anyway, okay, so Branded. Branded is a fucking batshit crazy idea. Period.
Crazy awesome though. I mean,
Yeah, dude.
who doesn't want to imagine like a giant Coke monster erupting from the side of like Times Square and attacking people?
Coke Monster, you have jelly thingies sucking.
Actually, come to think of it, Coke monsters already exist. One tried to eat the dude's face off in Florida.
That's a zombie.
No, he was a Coke monster.
That's a zombie.
Just a different kind of Coke.
It is.
I call him a blow monster, but I hear you get those in Vegas.
Okay, so honestly, my opinion on Branded is somebody got really pissed off at a marketing team. Like, really pissed. You?
It's a possibility. I think the other aspect is that someone could have just been like, man, it's been a while since the Matrix movies came out. How can we do something just as crazy?
I don't think so. I think it was a branding thing, because they are really just hammering it about, yeah, the big business has control, but it seems like the focus is on a company that sells brands, which by definition is a marketing team, as far as I understand, and I work in one.
Maybe. I think the idea was probably someone sat down, wanted to make a movie kind of like The Matrix, and found kind of like their own pet peeve, I guess, like, marketing. Maybe they hate marketing. And I don't know. I mean, it reminds me a lot of They Live, as cheesy as that movie is, and so I'll watch it. Maybe not in the theaters, but I'll catch it.
Oh no, well, I mean, I've got the $2 theater, so I'm definitely catching that shit. But I don't know. I really don't know what their goal is to say, other than maybe a giant political statement.
To show people that Lily Sobieski, or however pronounce her name is still in stuff.
Alright, sure. Hold on, let's take a quick pause. Something doesn't look right. Sorry about that, we just were checking some things.
But at least we know how orgies sound in The Matrix.
Yes! Well, there was no drums. And
Fair enough.
No.
Fair enough.
No,
And a noted lack of Lawrence Fishburne.
And a little too long for it to actually be pleasurable.
Actually, that pretty much describes both of the last two Matrix movies.
Fuck
a little
you.
too long to be pleasurable.
I really enjoyed the last Matrix movie.
It's alright. It's just that they used such a common archetype for Neo that you could see everything that was going to happen in that last movie before it happened.
Yes, I know, but I so enjoyed that story arc. Don't get me wrong. The second one,
It's kind of like how if you watch Cool Hand Luke and you notice that he's a new like modern archetype for Jesus, and then you're like, yeah, he's totally gonna die. And in case anyone out there is not listening and hasn't seen Cool Hand Luke, that does not count as a spoiler. That movie is old as shit. So deal with it.
Oh, by the way, spoiler alerts. How do we want to handle spoiler alerts so we can give the general public who is going to be listening to us a heads up on what to expect on our spoilers? Do we want to say spoiler alert or do we want to say fuck them?
I mean, we can say spoiler alert beforehand, or if we want, we can save in-depth discussion for like the last chunk of whatever we record.
What's our
That way,
time
people
rule?
can just kind of like turn it off.
What's our time rule? If it hits DVD, we can talk about it. We can talk about it
Spoilers?
without spoilers, without spoiler
Eh,
alert. Or do we
I
want to
think as
go?
long as you and I have both seen it, we can even
Well,
talk about movie theater
you
movies.
know I don't care about spoilers.
I don't.
Period.
I don't care about spoilers either. People just might not like us if we spoil movies for them. But
all
I
right,
think as
fine.
long as we say, spoiler alert, we're gonna go into detail. You know,
All right,
they
then.
can fast forward and try to find a place where we're not talking about it.
All right, then. Spoiler alert on anything that has come out the year that we are talking about. So it's 2012. Anything that's come out in 2012, we will say spoiler alert in front of it. Deal?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. So yeah, that's what you guys get. We spelled it out for you. It was a little bit drug out, but we spelled it out. Anyway, so Matrix, yes. Dread. Dread.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I think Dread could
ecstatic.
be interesting. I mean, it looks a little. I've heard it's a little straightforward. Some of the reviews I read, he pretty much goes into a building and has to get to the top of it,
Well,
like
I
end of
mean,
story. But
I mean, what more? I haven't read Dread. Have you gotten the opportunity to read any of those comics?
a very long time ago, so I honestly cannot stand here and tell you I'm an expert on anything other than the fact that he's pretty much supposed to be like the most morally bankrupt or not antagonist, protagonist of like almost any comic book.
More,
Basically, you're not really supposed to like him, but he is the protagonist, so you do like him.
more so
Kind of like
crazier.
Vin Diesel in Pitch Black. How
Yeah,
you're
but
not
that.
really supposed to like him because he's a criminal and he kills motherfuckers, but
Well, but that's just it. Is you see everybody else in that movie, and you're like, I want you all to die.
well, yeah, fair enough. I mean, usually when you have a bad protagonist like that, you have to. Usually they exist in a story where they're either less bad than the people around them, or the story's framed in such a way that you root for them. Like Bad Santa, he's just he's not a good guy, but you like him because he's funny and he's Billy Bob Thornton.
Well, I think the whole concept is going to be a whole lot better than Crooked Face. Crooked Face's attempt at it.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
Well, that was the main problem with the Stallone version was that they didn't at the beginning they have the character right. He's a cop. He's a douchebag cop. He's not good. He punishes people indiscriminately. He's pitch perfect. And then, like 10 minutes into the movie, Max von Sydow or whoever plays his like old mentor, I can't even remember, and I just watched the movie like a month and a half ago. That's how shitty it is. Uh, like he's telling him, "You're the best cop in training," and blah blah blah. And from that point on, in the rest of the movie, Sylvester Stallone like pussies out and becomes like Jackie Chan super cop or something. It's like, what? That's not, huh?
I just
You're supposed to be this douche the whole movie, and here you are being like a hero. No one cares.
and all I can
Why is
remember.
Armand Asante your clone brother thing? Like, this movie makes no sense.
All I can remember from that movie is the opening sequence where that dude hotwired the robot, and he's just like, penalty death. And he's like, what the fuck? Death? I'm just trying not to die in the first place.
Yeah, Rob Schneider
Yeah.
making serious movies not at all serious since 1990 ever.
But honestly, if out of the movies that I know about thus far, if I was to really give one the predecessor to Dread as we're going to see it, because I think it's going to be a really good job. However the new Dread comes out, Demolition Man would have been the previous Dread.
Mm, kinda.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot that is not the same, but the
Kind of, but
overarching
even though
idea.
he doesn't like follow rules and stuff, the Spartan in Demolition Man is still a much more like likable character.
True, true. And Wesley Snipes is batshit awesome.
That's probably, other than Blade, that's probably my favorite Wesley Snipes character.
Oh, what? You don't like him in jail?
Tax evasion Wesley Snipes is a little less entertaining than I would hope.
I want to know where I can get that action figure.
I'm pretty sure you just buy a Blade figure and then buy some action figure that looks like an accountant, uh, and a paper shredder with some tax documents, and then just make you a jail cell and put Blade in the jail.
Well, but the Blade figure comes with a trench coat and a sword. I don't think they will
You
allow
think
the
Wesley
sword.
Snipes didn't take his trench coat and sword to jail when they
I
got him
don't.
for tax
I
evasion?
don't think he took his sword. Maybe the trench coat, but I mean, would I have to paint it orange?
He has to keep the sword on a rope though, just in case he drops it.
I think he might drop it on purpose.
Nah,
Nah,
nah.
nah.
But anyway, Dread does look good.
I,
I'll
I,
get around to watching that eventually too.
I'm
I don't
so
know if that's one. If I have money, I'll go catch it at the theater. But
yeah. I'm really hoping that Dread isn't just if we throw enough money at it, it will be good. You know, kind of like um, Babylon AD. Babylon AD, I was kind of excited about. I remember watching it. It built
and,
up very, very nicely, and then all of a sudden the movie's over, and you're like, "What the fuck happened? Where did it
yeah,
all
that
go?"
Babylon AD just ended up being a god awful mess of a movie.
Like everything in there was cool. It's just nothing got put together at all, and I don't
Yeah,
understand how that happens.
I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. And I like Vin Diesel, but and yes, crucify me for saying I like Vin
Oh
Diesel.
fuck you! You
I
know I
realize
love Vin
that's
Diesel.
taboo.
I don't know why he's a halfway decent actor. Don't get me wrong. He does understand he gets typecast, and for that reason, that makes him a better actor.
Yeah, people can say whatever they want to. Richard B. Riddick is like one of my top 5 movie characters of ever.
Agreed. Agreed. I put him and The Rock in the same room. I would have to say The Rock has better acting chops, which is a little sad.
Nah.
But put
The
them.
Rock did the Tooth Fairy. That's almost unforgivable.
Yeah, and Vin Diesel did the pacifier.
That movie was funnier than the Tooth Fairy and Game Plan.
Yeah,
It
but
still sucked, but it was mildly funny in a we saw all these jokes in like Kindergarten Cop and Super Nanny and shit. Uh, I mean, it was funny in a man, like none of these jokes are
relevant.
fresh,
But
but we'll still chuckle at them because we're pathetic.
yeah, but The Rock has the rundown. Great movie.
Wait, I wouldn't say that's fantastic acting. It's a great movie.
Well, if Sean William Scott does carry most of that movie on his back.
Well, I mean, The Rock's funny. He has great comedic timing, but I just, I've never seen him do anything that made me stop and go,
Wow.
yeah. He was decent and Faster. Faster
I still
got a
haven't seen
lot of
that.
flack. I actually thought it was a pretty good movie. It's a type of action movie that doesn't come around that often.
Well, it seemed like a really simple idea, and the one downside to simple ideas is they're either done extremely well or they're done extremely poorly.
Yeah, and speaking of generic action movie that's gonna be done very poorly, Red Dawn looks fucking awful. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. That looks like the dumbest piece of shit trailer I've seen in like for a
Yes.
major budget movie in the past like 5 years. It even has the like trademark, oh man, we're an action movie. We have to use fucking filter from 1997 to advertise our shit cuz fucking no action trailer that's for a piece of shit action movie ever cannot have hey man nice shot.
Well,
Hey man, this movie's gonna suck balls. I mean, that's all I hear when I watch that trailer
I like
is
I
the
like the
sad lead
idea.
singer from Filter who doesn't still have a career, singing how much he hates that his one good song is being used for shitty movie trailers. Sorry, I had to get that all off my chest.
But I like
I hate the
filter.
original Red Dawn, and this one looks even worse.
Well, the I like the idea of Red Dawn. I don't like the idea that a bunch of Twilight characters are now gun toters.
I mean, it's
Don't
Thor
I
and
was kind of
the
expecting
kid
them
from
to
the Hunger
sparkle a
Games
little bit.
and the chick that I guess is my demographic is supposed to think is hot. That was in Transformers 2 as like the Robo bitch. Uh,
Oh yeah.
like this does
I
not. I
forgot
mean,
Transformers
why
2
is
happened.
Thor in this movie? Chris Hemsworth, please, please don't do this. This hurts your career and it hurts our souls to watch it.
Well, let's face it. Chris Hemsworth has had a string of good luck. Let's give him one bad movie to bring him back down to earth.
Nah, fair
Can we
enough.
do that? Can we let him be like, oh shit, maybe I'm not as awesome as I think. Maybe it was the work of many
No,
people that
he's
made
still
me
pretty
wrong.
awesome. The movie itself's just gonna blow goats though.
Oh no, no. Well, oh god, I don't want that movie to be too terrible. I want
That's
it
the
to
type
be
of movie
terrible
that I
enough.
wish they could make like a 5 minute clip. That's what they should do. We should invent 5 minutes Cliff Notes versions of movies that you can watch while you're passing a bowel movement, while you're just dropping a deuce. You can watch the Cliff Notes version of a shitty movie you didn't really want to waste 2 hours of your life on.
Well, don't waste the 2 hours of your life. That would be the common sense move.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if I'm taking a shit anyway, I might as well have a shit in front of me to look at.
But why do you? But why do you want to a Cliff Notes version of a shit movie? I mean, there's no comedic value in
When
that.
people are like, "Hey man, did you see Battleship?" and I'm like, "Yeah, I did see Battleship." And no, yeah, I did mean to say shit, not ship.
No, you would say, "Hey, man, nice shot." That's your response, isn't it?
Or "Hey man, bad shit."
Yeah, there
You know,
you got that too. No,
potato, potato.
here here's what I've got to say about Battleship because I've seen it.
I'm fucking sorry.
Me too, but I am really astonished that they got 2 hours of that out, or well, almost 2 hours out of that idea, and they even and
I'm really astonished someone thought it was a good idea to put Rihanna in a movie.
well, she does really good with auto tune. Maybe they auto acted.
Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, Chris Brown could have been in the movie too.
Eddie Murphy. He
I
knows
don't
how to
think you really
destroy
got the joke I was
everything.
making there.
No, I didn't. But
Chris Brown and her used to
oh,
date. And
that's
he,
right.
yeah. He got some kind of neck tattoo lately that looks like a female who got beat on his neck. So everyone's jumped to this conclusion that it's a battered woman that he's got tattooed on him, but according to his PR guys, it's supposed to be some kind of Egyptian shit,
I'm sorry if you have to have
signifying
PR guys
death and rebirth.
if you have to have PR guys to run your life or to make excuses for your idiotic decisions, you probably shouldn't be in a spotlight.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you beat women. Ask the guy, Matthew Fox.
Well, yeah. And then you've got the whole murdering women, OJ.
Hey, he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers.
Oh, and haven't you heard? They've found new evidence.
The juice is loose. The juice is loose.
Okay, I have to bring this up because
You know, a part of me with the OJ thing, I'm still like undecided because a part of me is like, Yeah, it really does look like he killed her. But then the other part of me is like, man, the LAPD is like the most corrupt police organization in the United States, and they had a lot of like trouble with evidence tampering and things in the past. So I don't know. It goes both ways.
Well,
I don't care. The man's out. I don't think he's gonna go start stabbing people. Just
didn't
let
he?
him go steal his own sports cards and get in trouble for that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand the
That was pretty
process of
dumb. Like
thinking.
he got in trouble for like stealing his own
I know.
stuff.
Well, here's what I don't get. Like, I was a firm believer of there was a 90% possibility that he did it, or a higher possibility that he did it. Maybe I shouldn't stoop that high. But looking at it now and some of the previous decisions that he's made, it makes me pause and think. And I'm just like, if he really did do the murder, there is no way in fucking hell he would have figured out how to cover it up.
Yeah, he's not very bright. I mean,
No.
motherfucker put out a book called "If I Did It" or some shit like that. Like, really, dude?
The crayon colors in his world are 50 Shades of Grey. Not a whole lot going on there. But,
Except old lady porn, apparently, if it's
well,
50 Shades of Grey.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Haven't
What?
had sex in a decade? Read 50 Shades of
It's
Grey.
S and
Like,
M.
I just, like, if I
It's
were the
S and M
PR for
porn.
50 Shades of Grey, I could sell the hell out of that book.
It's S and M porn. It really is.
Get $1 off 50 Shades of Grey with your next pint of Haagen-Dazs loneliness flavored ice cream.
Well, I've talked to some people who have read the book, and after they told me some of the things that happen in it, I'm like, "Oh, honey, you really need to check out some anime because that shit happens in like every other episode."
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like that people read. I just wish they would read
Good things?
good literature.
Well, okay, I have to
I
talk
mean,
about
some
this.
reading's better than none, I
Dude!
suppose. Unless you're reading Nicholas Sparks. Um, but no, in that case, I would rather talk to somebody who can't read than
Me?
someone who's reading Nicholas Sparks.
Dude, I have to talk about this because I'm so excited, and I know you're not the biggest fan of the first one, the new Silent Hill movie. Am I wrong to be excited about that?
You're not wrong. I mean, I was excited for the first one, and
I think the
I got
first one
into
was
it. And the
fantastic.
first one was like, they did a great job creating the atmosphere, making it look creepy, and making it feel creepy. And at the end of the day, it just felt like there was no story.
Uh, well, the based off the first video game, that didn't have much of a story either. They actually added shit to the movie. That being
Oh yeah,
said,
but part of the appeal of the video game is that you're running around trying to fight for survival. You can't really mimic that, but so much with a movie before it gets old.
well, the one thing I wish they had done in the first one, and I know they're not going to correct in the second one, is the first time you play any Silent Hill, the scariest moment you have ever felt is when you get into your first fight. You have a pipe and you beat it, and you beat it, and you
That's
beat
what
it.
she said.
Yes, that is what she said, and he said, and she was very upset when he couldn't get off. But
Preferably with Vaseline.
yeah, chafing hurts. But you wail on this thing and it gets up, and you wail on the like you spend 10 minutes trying to kill this damn thing, and you're like, oh, maybe I should run from all of the other ones. And you spend the majority of the game running from shit because you know you can't fight it. I wish they had had an instance when she was trying to fight the thing and it just wouldn't stop coming. That way we feel scared with her instead of just nothing or instead of somebody coming to the rescue and bang 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 dead. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. The trailer looks interesting for the second one. I'm just not like jonesing to see it because I love the first one because I didn't love the first one.
I'm a
Uh,
huge Silent Hill fan, period. Like
I love the video game.
I
That
have
that doesn't mean
never.
I'm automatically gonna not say that first movie was kind of shit by movie standards.
Well, I've never been so terrified playing a video game when unless it was Silent Hill 2. Such a good game. Such a
Or
good
that one
game.
time me and Matt scared the shit out of
Oh
you with
fuck
Resident
you.
Evil 2.
Yeah, because that was the first time I was ever introduced to the Resident Evil, and I was living a sheltered life.
Uh huh.
Uh huh.
Uh huh.
And
Zombies popping through the door and shit, or through
yeah,
the windows.
and Matt turns up the volume, and I'm sitting there not paying that close of attention, just enthralled, and the background pops out, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Yep. You
And
even hit your head on the bunk bed
laying
because you jumped
from
so
a
high.
prone position.
Yep. That was impressive.
That's right. I jumped vertically, laying down. Nope.
Although that marks a special occasion because I think you had your first period the next week.
That's no. That's when the next week is when you kicked your shoe down the hall and it nailed me in the head.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
that's what happened.
Fair enough. I don't know. I mean, it Silent Hill looks okay. I might catch it on like Netflix or somewhere cheap, but I'm not gonna go to the theater and see it.
I'm. I might make it a Halloween flick for me just because I have that and what Saw 7, 6. I don't know which one's coming out.
I think at this point they would be on number 9. I think there are 8 of them.
The new Resident Evil came out. I haven't watched it yet.
I didn't watch the last one.
I I like that franchise. I like the movie franchise. Not because
Yeah,
it's
I
fantastic.
liked the first 2, especially the second one.
Oh, I loved
The
3.
third one was kind of meh, but at no point are those movies anywhere near close to A, matching the story of the video game series, or B, matching, well, the goodness of the story of the video games, because it's just like, let's make Super Bitch, and she's like a clone, and then she's not a clone, and then there's like hundreds of her, but then there's not hundreds of her because we were too lazy to actually make that a plot point, even though we did it at the end of the third movie, and we're just going to wipe them out at the beginning of the fourth one. It's just like, it's the most lazy, half-assed writing, and Paul Wattscript Anderson just he's a terrible director and a terrible movie maker. He's made like he had one Rain Man moment where he made like one phenomenally good movie. Well, I think it's good. Everyone else I've talked to
What
like
is
hates
it?
it or thinks it's mediocre. But Event Horizon.
Yep, I haven't seen it.
That's just because I love like psychological Lovecraft type horror shit.
All right. I, I'm. Well, what was the last Resident Evil video game you played?
5 and I fucking hated it.
I played 4 recently, and I'm not the biggest fan. Like, the gameplay's good, the game's pretty damn decent, but story mode, I don't know what the fuck happened, but somewhere between Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil Code Veronica, the Umbrella Corporation no longer mattered. Because 4 starts off with, oh, the world is mad at the Umbrella Corporation, so they take it down. And then 4, you spend your entire time dealing with a prehistoric viral thing that kind of looks like the T virus. Which,
It ties in. It's like in 5, you're playing Chris, and you're part of some kind of organization that goes around and stops like bio terror weapons getting traded, which of course a virus getting traded as a weapon in like third world shitholes. The problem I had with 5 wasn't the story. What little bit I got of it before I was frustrated and turned the shit off for good.
uh,
Uh, it's people complained about the controls in the old games, but I actually mastered those. Like I could
well,
dodge zombies like a boss.
there was a
Uh,
point. There was a point that I recently heard that I agree with. One of the reasons why the old Silent Hills are so damn scary is because your controls suck.
I think that was part
Surprisingly,
of the
that
appeal of the
matters.
Resident Evil games, and unfortunately, with the 5th one, some people are probably phenomenally good at playing with those controls that way, but I'm not. They suck. The controls for Resident Evil 5 on PlayStation 3 just they suck.
I haven't played it yet.
There's no there's no other word besides suck to describe the controller layout and the play style and just everything involving using the controller to play that game. If I could play it with my mental powers, it would be fine. But the controls to that just blow.
Well, in four, you play, you have something, a mix. You have a mix between what you played in Resident Evil 3, like that mobility, but the camera's right over the shoulder, so it's more of an annoyance. And at that point, I would kind of just wish for a first person view.
The camera kind of like flops around, I think, with the fifth one, if I remember correctly. Again, I made
Don't
it
take
through
us at our
like
word, people. We
I made
aren't
it through
sure.
about an hour before the controller made me want to turn the gun on myself.
Oh,
Um,
another important thing, something I didn't realize mattered to me until I finished four. So I finished four Sunday. All right. That is the first time I have put 20 hours into the story mode of a game. Not with side missions or anything else, just the fucking story. And I realized how much I really like a 10-hour story.
yeah.
10-hour
Why do you
story
think? Why
has
do you think
good
I've not
pacing.
even bothered to buy a next gen system? There's like 1% of the games made have a story that's worth a shit. The rest of it's like, let's see how high res we can make the graphics, and then you play for like 4 hours, the shit's done, and you're left like wondering why the fuck you blew $60 on that.
That's why
That's
I
why they
play
had to invent the
Uncharted.
stupid fucking achievement systems and trophy shits that all these systems have. Is because it's like, man, I got to find a way to milk that $60 so I don't feel like a pathetic tool for blowing $60 on this shit.
Well, look at Resident Evil 2. The damn game came with two discs. You play you play the exact same game with two different characters, and that game is only 6 hours long. Correct?
If you
No, no,
blast
just the
ass through it,
first. Just
if
the
you
first.
blast ass through it, it's like 5 hours per play, maybe
Okay,
about
five
that.
hours. So they were like, "Oh, this is too short." So they were like, "Well, let's see what the other character was doing." So they
But
tacked
to
that
be
on.
fair, that seems short compared to like standards that they could have now, and especially when you compare that shit to like Final Fantasy VII. But fucking on a regular PlayStation disc, that's still an impressive amount of gameplay.
True, true. And that's like I said,
I mean,
I
they're putting
played.
shit on fucking Blu-rays now. I could play through the fucking Old Testament. They could make an Old Testament video game. I could play through that shit, and it should still all fit on one disc. There's no excuse for them to put out this weak E3 Game of the Year bullshit that has like a 2 hour story.
Well, remember
I
they
can go to
got.
the fucking movie theater and spend $8 and get a 2 hour story,
Remember,
and not have to deal with shitty controllers, awful graphics, and a system deleting my save files.
they've only got so much space on the HD drives that Microsoft makes for their Xboxes.
That doesn't excuse the PlayStation, and you don't have to put the whole game up there. And even if you did, a Blu-ray's not that much. And if you had to, delete the motherfucker when you're done playing it. There's no excuse when you have that much capacity to have so little story.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't disagree with you, which is one of the reasons why I'm so fucking ecstatic for what comes out tomorrow.
Borderlands 2.
Yes, I've got my copy already
Well, I
pre-ordered.
mean, I'm not
I know.
expecting that to have an abundant story like the first one. I think
Well,
it's more about gameplay and farming for the best guns you can get. But
from
it's
what
like Diablo. People were like, "Man, Diablo 3 was so short," and just like all kinds of people bitching about Diablo 3 and how disappointing it was. And I'm not gonna like line up to defend it and say it was the next coming of Christ, but it wasn't a bad game. I
well,
feel like I got my money's worth for it, especially since I got it for free by
I'm
just signing on to pay
I
for a year of Warcraft.
I'm looking at this. I only have so much time in my day, and with this as one of my many projects that I want to accomplish, I want a 10-hour game. I want a game that when the weekend comes, I can sit down, play for a day, and I get from beginning to end, or play for 2 days and get from beginning to end. And I want a good story. It's one of the reasons why I think the Uncharted stories are so fantastic. The new Borderlands story, from the original reviews that I've read when they announced that they were going to do it, was, yeah, we know we screwed up with the story on the first one. We kind of dropped the ball. We spent so much time on game mechanics and how the damn thing works that we kind of forgot about the story. So with this one, we're making sure the story's there, and we're making sure it's solid, and we're introducing all the side characters, the co-characters, all the people that you have to talk with, that they really have personalities and they're really important. And the villain, like, you really hate the villain, instead of it being some mystery that's out there. You're just like, oh, I gotta kill your face, because it's kind of pulled back and a little, it pisses me off. And then he captured the previous treasure hunters, and it makes me happy. Did you turn your fan back on? Oh, sweet. But that aside, it's anything that has a strong story that carries me from beginning to end in a reasonable amount of time, I'm a bigger fan of than trying to clock in 40, 50, 60 hours, because I did enough of that shit when I was a kid. I mean, how many times did I beat Metal Gear Solid 2? That game didn't need like 10 beats, but I did, because I didn't have anything else better to do.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid doesn't even have that long a story, though.
Exactly.
I
And I
prefer
did
I
that
prefer
too.
shit like Final Fantasy VII. I put in like I maxed the clock on my save file on that shit.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know. And
I'm
you
I'm pretty
still
sure I
didn't
did
beat
anyway.
Emerald
I
Weapon.
might. The fact checkers out there might correct me. Uh,
Yes,
but
internet, tell us how we're
fucking
wrong.
I put in like 100 hours plus at least in Final Fantasy VII, and there's so much like optional story to it that you can just like stop off and do shit in the town, and it's got its own completely little optional story that adds to the overall. And I like that. I feel like for 50, 60, whatever that game cost my parents because it was a Christmas present, I feel like I got their money's worth. That shit was awesome. I got a lot of story out of it. I don't even feel like 8 hours is enough for a video game. I just don't.
For cost,
It
I
costs like
agree with you.
3 times as much as a movie.
For
And I'll watch a movie over and over again if it's a good movie. A video game, because it's an active source of entertainment where you're actually having to put input in.
Tell
It
me how
just
this makes sense.
most video games that are story based just have like no replay value unless
Tell
you're
me,
like, man, I haven't played it in a while, don't remember all of the story, let me play again.
yeah, tell me how this makes sense. So, brand new, a decent action and adventure game is going to cost you $60 roughly. Plus DLC that eventually comes out. So by the time you're done with it, and we're gonna say the DLC is worth it, kind of like in Borderlands, you're going to spend almost $100 on the game. Or you've got another game. Oh, and that game ends. Like, it has an ending. You send it back because there's not a whole lot more you can do after you do everything, and you're just replaying it. And it's kind of like watching the same movie over and over and over again, but the movie wasn't that good, you know? Or you've got something like uh, uh, Gran Turismo. All right, these fuckers dropped serious money into building a game with new physics, new everything. Basically, this game has real world applications, and all the data that they collected has real world applications. And they just collected and collected and collected and put out a game that, after you open it and take a look at it and everything you can do in it, you should never turn that game back in, because it will always be relevant.
Yeah.
And the best part is that came out, or when I got my hands on it, it was less than a year old, and it was $40 new. That doesn't make any sense. And that game is
Yeah.
fun. Don't get me wrong, I don't play it all the time,
Well, I
but
mean,
it's a go-to
it's
fun
about what
game.
you're getting for your money at the end of the day, and that's why I don't really consider myself a gamer anymore. I guess because I can't see dumping $60 on the shit they put out. I just can't.
I love entertainment so much, and video games are one of the ways that.
I like entertainment too, but some of the games that I've played, like even Skyrim's like the only game that even came close to me considering it being worth $60 in the past
Hmm.
God knows forever that I've even tried to play on John's PS3. I
Well,
mean, I've not played everything obviously because I don't own a next gen system, but there's just not stuff out there that I think is worth $60. Especially considering that most of these games, unless they end up being like cult classic hits like Final Fantasy VII, are worth fuck all once you've bought them. So you've dumped $60 on something that has no investment value almost, uh, and you hope to Christ it had entertainment value worth the $60, and most of the time it just doesn't. I I like entertainment too, Wes, but I like $60 a whole fucking lot more than 97% of these entertaining games that have come out.
mm, which is why I buy a bunch of games really, really low, and then when there's a new game like Borderlands 2 that's coming out, I just trade them in until I hit it.
And the problem with that is, I mean, everyone does it. Like, what's
Well,
the point in blowing $60 on something if you're not going to keep it? Because then
if
you're
you're going
trading
to,
it back in for a very, very small fraction of what you spent on it to get another thing that you're just going to do the same thing to. It's
well,
essentially like going to a fucking payday advance loan place where they have like a 700% interest rate on their loans.
it's dude,
So
it's the
once you get
same.
one, you're like stuck doing it.
It's the same model used in auto dealerships. That being said, I have to ask you, or
I beg to differ. Most people that aren't fucking morons buy a car, run that shit out till it's paid for, and if they're smart, they sell that shit used. You don't go trade that shit back in.
dude, a majority of the people that I know are under the thought process that you buy a car, you drive it for a year or two, and you trade it in. Basically, you never get rid of your car payment, but you always get a nice car.
Those people are fucking stupid.
Hey, I didn't disagree with that. Um, but what did you think about prototype or the
I like
prototype?
having a mountain of debt. I mean, that's essentially what someone there is saying. You know, like, how can I make my life suck more? Oh, I know, have $100,000 worth of debt.
What did you think of the prototype?
It looks pretty cool. It's definitely good to see the Cronin from Hellboy, getting some work again.
Yes, yes,
But no, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's got the token asshole actor guy.
yes.
I
That
mean,
was
I'm
me
sure he's like
steering
a
us
nice
back on
guy in real
topic,
life,
by
but
the
he's
way.
always an asshole in movies.
That was me steering us back on topic, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Blatant
Ow.
stop. Let's go back over here. But no, I do. I saw that trailer and I'm just like, oh, finally, it's out! Yay! Somebody finally took the story that we've probably been talking about for the past decade and made it, and it looks fantastic. And from what
It looks so good that as far as feeding my need to see robot movies, it actually puts that last really crappy McG Terminator movie to shame.
what do you think it has the potential to be better than iRobot?
Well, yeah, everything has the potential to be better than iRobot.
I liked iRobot. Didn't you like
I
iRobot?
did too. It's not a fantastic movie. I mean, Will Smith's hilarious, but that's because he's Will Smith.
Well, and Shia LaBeouf's in it trying to cuss badly, and he does. He actually did that really well. Then again, that was also on the cuff of Oh, he's still a Disney actor.
I don't know. I think it was after Battle of Shaker Heights. That was actually a really good movie.
Oh, I never
For
saw
people
it.
that say that they hate him, I always suggest they watch Battle of Shaker Heights. It's a really good movie.
I give him props for being ambitious as shit. honestly, I think he's taking a bunch of roles that he doesn't fit very well. That being said, the last movie that or the movie that just came out, I've heard nothing but good reviews. Period.
Oh, Lawless.
Yes,
Yeah, I wanted to see that.
and it was the first time I kind of look like I tried to look at him this particular way with Eagle Eye. Transformers, that shit won't gonna happen. But it's the first time I was able to actually look at him and say, "Oh, you're not Shia LaBeouf, you're this character." Lawless tried to be
Fair
that,
enough.
but it just or not Lawless. Eagle Eye tried to be that. It just wasn't. He just didn't do a good enough job. But I'm not sure if that was his fault or the director's fault or a little bit of everything.
I
Or
don't dislike him. There's
I pointed and laughed at him.
people.
At
People
Indiana
like
Jones
flat
4.
out. There are people that flat out hate him.
Yeah, but people
just
don't like
hate him in
change
movies.
either. Guess what? Your favorite actors are getting old. We haven't figured out how to make them live forever, and trust me, they're trying.
I don't know. I think Cindy Crawford's found the way, man. Like I was flipping through channels and came across some damn infomercial for some shit that she markets. It's supposed to be her beauty cream made out of some kind of fucking melon, and she looks the same as when I first remember knowing who she was. It's fucking scary. She's either eating fetal children or is a vampire.
Well, wouldn't the first one require her to be the second one?
No, she could be a demon and eat children.
Okay. Gotcha.
Or just like babies. They can be good.
Tasty.
Tastes
Little
like
stir
bacon.
Fry. Bacon. Bacon's always
I mean, they're
fun.
kind of like pork belly, I imagine. Fatty.
A little chubby around them cheeks.
Yeah, we're going to hell for talking about eating babies.
Oh, I don't care. I really don't. Oh, wait. There's a hell. That's a great thought. Maybe a hell dimension. And then we're on a Will Wheaton storyline. Yes! Or not Will Wheaton. Fuck. Joss Whedon. Wow.
There we go.
I'm dumb. Yes! Might as well. They're equally cool.
Yeah, well, I don't know about equally. Will Wheaton's pretty cool, but Joss Whedon's a boss.
Will Wheaton is cool by the guy you want to be next door to. Will Wheaton is the guy that you live next door to, and you're just like, motherfucker. That's the sense that I get from him. Seven Psychos. Excited? Not excited? Or Seven Psychopaths. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if I'm not mistaken, let me IMDb that shit.
On who's in it?
No, I'm checking something out.
On what?
Your mom.
You know you don't want to check out on my mom. That shit, not fun.
I don't know, man, I might.
Really? Do you want to go down that road? Really want to?
Yeah, it's the guy that did In Bruges. I thought it was.
For Seven Psychopaths?
Yeah. Yeah, no, In Bruges was Bruges, however you pronounce it. I'm pretty sure I'm slaughtering that shit.
Whatever. I don't care.
It's funny as hell.
You know.
But I've always liked Colin Farrell. Except in Alexander, that movie sucked. Fuck you, Oliver Stone.
Alexander.
I mean, I realize that historically Alexander got around. He liked the dudes, he liked the ladies, but
He liked the dude ladies.
you didn't have to make the whole movie that. You could have made the movie, you know, about some of the badass shit and the conquering that he did.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't, and that movie failed at life.
Well, not everybody's perfect. You know, not everybody's perfect.
Yeah, this is true. James Cameron makes a really, really expensive 3D movie, and apparently he spent so much money on the technology and the graphics and the actors that he couldn't afford to actually get a story, so he just copied Disney's Pocahontas and spliced in a little bit of The Last Samurai and Dances with Wolves.
Damn. Wait, what
I
is that?
liked Avatar. Avatar was really
Oh,
awesome, but the story was just, it was the most rehashed shit. It's like, I've
Unatanium.
seen this.
Well, I didn't I didn't care about the story because the movie opened up and I'm just like, oh, we're going down this road, and you can ask my wife. I was sitting there and I'm just like, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and this unatanium, that's hilarious, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and it did beat by beat by beat by beat, and very basic story, but that movie was pretty as hell.
Yeah, I know, but I still think they could have told a good story and still had it be pretty.
Well, I
That
agree
that's
with
my
you.
that's my problem with it. The sheer laziness of just the tired, worn out guys on this side of the fight, and he ends up having to spend time with the people on the other side, and he ends up liking their side, so he ends up fighting on their side. I mean, we saw that shit already multiple times. I mean, probably the only movie that I like that uses that basic story is Last Samurai,
Mm.
despite Tom Cruise being that shit crazy.
You can be Tom Cruise crazy and still produce a decent movie.
Oh
I
yeah, no.
I will.
I separate people from their acting.
Well,
If I like somebody's acting, I keep that completely separate from the person.
well, I don't know what interview I was listening to, but and yet again, not justifying Tom Cruise to be crazy, but what was said, what, and this was with somebody who got the chance to work with him. I think it was Simon Pegg that said this. He goes, "Look, yeah, Tom Cruise is nuts, but when you work with him, he works. He is there. He is understanding. He will talk to you. He will work with you. Do the job the right way and make sure that everybody's in the same mind space, which is kind of how I feel all jobs should be done. So even though Tom Cruise is crazy, he has a great work ethic.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I can't say anything about him personally other than just crazy. I mean, you have to be somewhat crazy to believe Scientology. And,
Somewhat.
if anybody out there listening is a Scientologist, I'm sorry, but you're
Suck my
crazy.
balls.
You're crazy. And you're probably not going to want to listen to us past this episode because I will probably pick on Scientology like every episode just because it's sad.
Well, yeah. It is a sense of crazy
It's
that.
it's a religion made up by a science fiction author. I mean, the only thing that comes close are people that think a guy found a golden tablet in the United States.
Okay.
They're almost as crazy.
I will give you a political minute if you can fill me in on this anonymous thing. I did not know that they took down GoDaddy.
Oh, they took down GoDaddy.
Yeah, that's what I have read. Have you heard
I knew
anything
I
about
knew
it?
that GoDaddy's hosting went down. I didn't know they had anything to do with it though.
Yeah.
I haven't kept up with it because I don't have a site, especially not one that would be hosted through GoDaddy.
Well, I normally keep up with all of it anonymous attacks because I'm curious on who they're going after next and seeing if it affects me. And sometimes it's funny, like PSN. I'm still a little upset about it. Understand why they did it. Still upset about it. Um, but yeah, the GoDaddy attack was kind of a big deal, but that happened.
Yeah,
So do you want to
I
cut
don't
it
know.
here?
I haven't kept up with it, so I really can't like comment on it.
You want to cut it here? We're at 55 minutes. We can put in the plugs for our blogs and in this show if you want to.
Eh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Like I said, we'll after a little while we plan on having these things put together. Um, Try and find me on WordPress. I've got a blog because I really like beer and I'm kind of a nerd about it. So I'm doing quick reviews of everything. It is called shineheadtastes at .wordpress.com. You have a blog too, don't you?
Yep. Mine is for movie reviews and is pathetically barren right now compared to yours, which is sad since I'm the English major.
No, but see,
Um,
I'm an alcoholic. I drink more than you do. Well, I'm
but
close
yeah,
to
but
it.
that means you're supposed to like the drinking and not so much the writing.
Well, that's why
But
I drink, I sip, type really quick, and then carry on.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. That and being too broke to see very many movies to review does kind of hinder the progress of my
Yeah,
blog. But
but you have
anybody who's interested in actually reading it, it's at wilhelmscreaming.wordpress.com.
so thank you for listening. Hope we're yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hopefully, we didn't offend more than about half of you.
No,